Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here. Welcome back to the Mixing in a Home Music Studio course. In this video, we're going to talk about bus processing. So first, if you're new to my channel and new to my videos and you like what you see, click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. So bus processing. I've seen a lot of people make a very big deal about this, and look, it can be. They spend a lot of time analyzing it, looking at it, talking about it, looking at everybody's techniques and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, we are going to do a bit of processing on here, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do on this song. Obviously, what we're doing in this first part of this course anyway is to use the stock plugins that come with Cubase Pro, but you know, generally in my real mixes I have a template that I use a lot of third-party tools, and we might have a follow-up video where I will do that. We'll see if we get time with that and show that. But you know, obviously I wanted to use something that if you are a Cubase Pro user, you could just pull up the same plugins and do the same thing or a similar thing and follow along as you go. Hard to do if I'm using all third-party plugins, because unless you go and buy them all, especially if I use something like UAD plugins, you'd be pretty stuck. If you don't have a UAD system, you'd have to go and buy one first. So, you know, that's the reason for the stock plugin. So we are going to cover the bus processing, but you know, I generally find my bus processing is, it's more about gluing things together, you know. So obviously, if you look at my templates and the structure I use, then I bundle everything into sort of instrument groups, you know, drums, bass, guitars, orchestral, whatever, and feed them all into their own individual buses for themselves, right? And then I put some processing on those buses to glue those instrument parts together, glue all the drums together, glue all the guitars together, that sort of thing. And then from there we feed into another bus after that, which would be our main bus, our output bus, our mix bus, whatever you want to call it, or whatever your software calls it. And then I'll do another level of processing on that to glue all of those buses then together and create that single sound, like it's just a coherent song that is joined and melded together nicely and doesn't sound like individual components all poking out here and there. And it's a good way to add also a fair bit of sort of compression and get things fairly level enough to get the volumes that people want in the mastering process these days. But it's also good to just be able to do that final last little tweak of EQ or something to the overall song as opposed to the individual elements. As much as you mix all the individual elements, sometimes you just might feel that the song sounds balanced, it sounds fine, but it might be a little bit dull, it might be a little bit bass heavy or bass light or something like that. And you don't want to go and modify the individual elements. You just want to just tweak that in the entire song, just brighten the entire song up, or give more bass to the entire song or something like that. And bus processing is a great place to do that. So let's get into it and I'll show you how I do it on my song. All right, so at this stage here, we've got majority of our song pretty much finished, I would say, right? It's fairly well mixed. Yeah, we've still got to do a few tweaks here and there, add some interest and some other various things, and do a lot more referencing and fine tuning. But what we're going to talk about is bus processing, right? A lot of people make a big deal about bus processing in mixing. And, you know, look, I do a fair bit of bus processing, and the whole point is to sort of, I guess a majority of the time, it can glue instruments together and your entire mix, make it sound like it's like really, I don't know, it's really hard to explain how sounding together sounds. You just, without it, you can just get a sense that the instrumentation, even though they're all playing together and everything else, they sound individual. But if you put the right processing on, you can get it to sound like a band, like it's just all entwined and you can't tell, you know, individual parts from each other sort of thing. Like you can obviously hear them. Now, so there's many levels to do it. And as you've already seen, we've already been doing some bus processing at the instrument level across here. So we've done, compressors on here. If we find that we want to, our drums are not the way we want to sound or something like that, we can do some tweaks. And to be honest with you, I have done some, right? So I've done some bit of referencing, bit of cross-checking on in the car and on my studio monitors between recordings. And I have made some adjustments across the board. And what I've done, which I'll show you, is that I've done them at the bus, some of these at the bus level. And I've done some changes here for the drums. So if we play our drums, what I've done is I've added an extra bit of filtering and I've added some EQ. Okay, it's subtle, but when you do it across the bus, you have to be careful because subtle things like small changes can do a lot. So here we go. I did a little bit of change on the bass, added a little bit more warmth, took a little bit of the low end rumble out. So again, we can see what that sounds like. So if we take that away, thins it out a little. But it adds a bit more of this low end here that cuts a little bit in this spot. Okay, what else did I do? I did a little bit to the guitar. I think it's more for when the distorted guitars come in. Yeah, there was just some sort of thickness there that was getting in the way of the other instruments. Yeah, so that's pretty much, I did a little bit on the orchestra as well. What I do there? Again, I think there was a little bit too much thickness on that. Just in that low end there. He's just muddying up the mix a bit. But that's what you can do here, right? And you can obviously put distortions on whatever else. Okay, but we've been doing that across each of the instrument tracks. What we haven't done is we haven't really done anything on our mix bus. Now you'll see here that I did put on a what do you call it? A reference plugin. So this was for me to cross-reference with, real chart songs, that sort of stuff, or in my case here, some instrumental songs that I know and like, and just compare, check the waveforms, A and B them, stuff like that. I'm not going to do it here because I don't want to get copyright, but what is quite common to do is to do this sort of similar effect and then on your mix bus, which is your whole, so it's going to affect your entire song. Okay, so what we might do is, well, let's just start with something simple. All right, so we might add, again, you might add a compressor or a tube effect or something like that, something to sort of get everything combined. So let's just do that. Let's grab the tube compressor. Now, at this level here, you want it to be really subtle, okay? Let's just turn that down a bit more. Just going to put it on a master bus setting and we'll see what they do. So they don't really do much in the way of drive. Yeah, full mix. I don't know why they're going 50%. Maybe that's why. Okay, so you might do that, and as I said, you might do some EQ or something like that on the track just to balance things out if you find you just need to do a little bit of a tweak here or there. So, for instance, you know, we might just say, not that I want to do anything, but you might just go, look, we need a little bit more brightness across the entire song. So instead of going back to all the individual instruments, you just do it across the track. Or you might want a bit more low end or maybe less low end. The old smiley face curve there. Now, I'm actually going to take them off because I don't necessarily think I need it right this stage. We'll see. But you can do something like that. You could add, you know, sort of something to create analog emulation type thing. Whatever you feel necessary. Right now, it's very hard to do with just Steinberg plugins, but a lot of people will add, I mean, just for an example here. Okay, let's do an actual example. I've seen, and I've done it myself, a lot of people that will say add some of these vintage emulators, and you don't even need to turn the settings on, right? You just plug them in and they do these characters of what the transformers and all the analog componentry sounds like when they're turned on. Okay, so we could just have that implemented here. So let's just turn it off for a second, right? We've got no settings on. Yes, there's attenuation on here, which we could turn that off. So you can hear there, it automatically did a bit of a boost and it added some mid-range. So a lot of people will do things like that. They'll put those sort of emulators on. They might do multiple compressors just to get things even more sort of controlled, squished down, ready for mastering, a bit of preparation for it type thing. In our case here, again, pretty limited with the fact that we are talking about the Steinberg plugins. They're good plugins, but they don't do a lot of the stuff that people think when it comes to this sort of thing. We could, I wonder if they have any presets for this. Do they have anything that would suit like a mix bus type thing? I don't know if they actually do in the way of distortion. Distortion is probably a little bit over the top. Actually, doesn't doesn't Steinberg have a tape emulator? Yeah, let's go actually to Steinberg's. They must have a tape emulator, I'm sure. I'm sure they have one. Yeah, Magneto. Of course they do. Right, so that's what you might do. We could have done that across the individual tracks too. But it's quite common for people to emulate, say, a tape, right? So let's go with Master Warmth. See, you can hear that. How do I explain it? Just adds something. There's something it adds. It's obviously the saturation. But it's almost like you listen to the lead guitar part. It almost sounds like it's separate from the music. It stands out. It sounds like, yeah, it's there, but it's slightly isolated in a way. And then you turn on something like this and it sort of like pulls it back into the music. And like it's almost like it absorbs it into the rest of the music. It's so weird to try and explain. And in theory, we could have done that on each of these, right? So we could have put a tape on every single one of these buses, right? And we could have adjusted it to suit, right? We could have said, all right, well, I'm going to go for, let's just pick a drum one. It doesn't matter. Let's just go drum group 1. So you go from this. Now, what happens if you put it on the rest? Now, are these all... Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Okay, these all had the same settings, right? Oh, we don't know, do we? Let's do that. Well, let's just copy all these across. We're going to give it a shot. And you could be changing, you know, that's adding more mids. Not sure if that's what we want, but... And then you could just go... Yeah, I mean, if you put it on the samples, I'd probably just stick with either mastering or go with silk. Now, the vocals. Well, first off, we'd have to move to a vocal part. That could work for the backing vocals. going to do this. All right. So what I'm going to do, we'll try and do this. We'll see if we can get it. Actually, we didn't set that, did we? So I'm just going to set that to strings silk. Actually, no, not the one, that one. Let's turn down that saturation. We don't want to overdo the saturation on this one. Now let's see if I can just turn all those off. Let's make sure it doesn't affect any others. That's all right. I just wanted to see. Right, so we've put this tape on all of these. Probably added a bit of volume, that's the only thing. Okay, let's get the vocals out. Let's try just the instrumental. All right, I like it. I think it sounds good. So like I said, we could adjust the EQ if we need to. You could add extra compressors. You could add extra distortion. You can do whatever you like on this mix bus, right? And that's what a lot of people do. They'll put a fair bit of processing on their mix bus, affect the entire song. You just need to be careful because obviously it is affecting every instrument in the entire song. So changes you make here can be quite drastic and over the top. So they can destroy your mix if you go too far with things, which, you know, we could have done that now with the tape. Who knows? But I'm liking what it sounds like in my headphones anyway, at least. Let's do a last little check here. So let's do a bit of a switch between our most recent rough mix to what we have right now. We'll sort of flick around a bit, I think. All right, that's what we had. So there you go, that is how I did bus processing on my song. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. If you have any questions, or if I didn't explain something properly, or you need further clarification or something, feel free again to put questions in the comments. I read all the comments and I will answer as many as I can, as quickly as I can, hopefully to help you progress and to get as much as you can out of this course. If you want to share your thoughts on bus processing and what you do, feel free to put that in the comments as well. I like to hear the way other people do their processing and all the techniques during mixing. You know, it's great to learn from other people, because you can never know everything in mixing. Everybody has new, unique styles. They've learnt from somebody else. They've got some other information. Things change over time as well. You know, what I do is maybe not what the next generation is going to do, and all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, it's great to hear everybody else's techniques as well as share some of mine. So if you did like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.